Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brandon Mosley, staff. Today is December 21st, 2022. Time is now 2:30. You are now attending the Bicycle Advisory Committee meeting, Education Subcommittee meeting. We'll get started. Start with the mission and the vision. The BAC mission is to advise and make recommendations to the commission and the director on issues related to bicycling in the city, including but not limited to amendments to the bike plan, bicycle safety and education, implementation of the bike plan, development of strategies for funding projects related to bicycling, and promoting public participation in bicycling. The BAC mission is by 2027, the city of Houston will be a safer, more accessible, gold level, bike friendly city. We'll start with the BAC Education Subcommittee roll call. We'll start with BAC Chair Tom Compson. All right, Leah Chambers, Jessica Wiggins, Commander Christine Anthony Miller, Beth Martin, Lisa Griff, Judith Villarreal, Robin Holzer.
Robin Holzer, present.
Welcome, Robin. And now for our ex officio members, Ian Lavacek, David Fields,
present.
Juvenal Robles. All right, anyone join as I called roll? Here's some Microsoft Teams meeting instructions. The agenda and slides can be found on our website, houstonbikeplan.org/BAC, or you can join by dialing telephone number 936-755-1521 using the ID 757-702-416#. Also, just some meeting instructions. Please stay on mute unless identified by the chair. When you are called on, please press *6 to mute and unmute if joining by phone. Before you use our agenda, and we'll start with the director's report.
Thank you, Brandon. Good afternoon, everybody. Madam Chair. A few items for update. One administrative change you'll have seen already in the roll call. We are trying to clean up our procedures just a little bit. So the subcommittees, when they meet, it will be the roll call of that subcommittee, not the entire BAC anymore. It's the BAC of the whole, where you'll see hear everybody's name called. Of course, all BAC members are invited to all subcommittee meetings. You just won't be part of that role. Item number 2, 2 pieces of good news. Bless you. Number 1, we hope everybody saw just this week the ribbon cutting for the MKT Trail Connection is open. It's actually been operational for a little bit, and they did the official ribbon cutting this week. It is great. It is fabulous. We encourage people to get out and use it. I've appreciated all the work on that one, especially. We are in the middle of construction on the 11th Street Safety Project. A lot of the work is done already. People are already riding in the lanes. Pedestrians are telling us it's better. It is still under construction, so be aware this is not the final condition if you're out there, but please go enjoy. It is a work in progress and moving along very well. We had asked for reminded everybody that BAC nominations for 2023 were requested about a month ago. We have submitted those to the Mayor's Office of Boards and Commissions. As soon as we have answers, which is usually very early in the year, we will notify everybody about the 2023 BAC. And then the one item I've been trying not to say out loud, but do need to announce it. As you all know, we worked for months on our bicycle-friendly communities application. We had previously been bronze. We were hoping to receive silver this year with all the work that went in. We did hear back that we maintain our bronze status. The message from staff for reviewing is we were the hardest decision they had to make this year. We were right on the cusp, it sounds like, so it is good work. They are still encouraging us. We will get there. We didn't make it this time. But I also want to communicate to everybody that We certainly are aiming for gold level status, as is in the bike plan. But it's a certification that is in addition to all the work we're doing. Because we haven't changed from bronze to silver doesn't mean the bike lanes that are out there are not good. Does not mean that the educational components that all our members have been working so hard on aren't valued to us. We're just going to do more and we're going to do better. But you all have my appreciation and that of staff for all the work the BAC does, and we will get there to be a bike friendly community, bronze, silver, and then gold. Any questions for me?
Just a question on the BAC appointments. Do BAC appointments carry through mayoral terms?
I believe they are a set number of years, regardless of what else is happening. I will need to confirm that. That was my interpretation, but I should check with legal to confirm that.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. We'll move forward to the chair's report.
Hey, everybody. Keeping it short and sweet. We're all eager to get our holidays started. But I did have a chance to go out to see the ribbon cutting yesterday, and I gotta say it was a cool thing to see. 3 women cutting the ribbon on the new trail. I thought that was a new thing that I've seen in Houston, so that was really cool. I also learned that Houston Public Works had a bigger role in making that happen than I initially thought, and I just want to give a shout out to Houston Public Works for doing that. Is my microphone as annoying to you as it is to me, or okay? On the 11th Street piece, I think if anyone has a chance to go out there over the holiday, it would be really cool to start gathering some photos and kind of experiences of how that's really working in the community. I'll make an effort to get out there over the holidays and see how it's all shaping up, because I know we've had kind of a bumpy road getting to this point, but I'm excited that we're finally seeing it take shape. And I think that, you know, over time we might convince some people that this was a good idea. So was the bicycle friendly certification. Hey, I'm really excited that this was a hard decision for them to make. And I think next, it's a yearly application every 4 years. Okay. All right. So a little more disappointing than not, but I know that the next time we have the opportunity to apply, I'm quite sure we'll be optimistic. And so it's 2023. All right, so we just have to jump 2 levels between now and then, and I think that's doable. That's all I had.
And Robin Holzer has her hand up.
Robin, we'll see your hand up. Go ahead.
Sure. I just want to reframe the last piece on the bicycle friendly community application. We are not obligated to wait 4 years to try again. I know it was a considerable staff effort and a lot of people put a lot of time. So maybe you don't want to do it again next month. But if we feel like we've unplugged the next set of educational improvements or encouragement improvements or projects have come online, we can totally apply again in a year or 2 years. We don't need to wait.
Thank you for that, Robin. Appreciate it. Are there any other committee? Let's circle back for a second. Any more BAC committee members join the call? Please, audible, please.
This is Tom Compson.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey, this is Amar.
Hey, Amar, thank you.
And I see Lisa Griff has signed in. Lisa, if you're out there, can you just say hi for a sec?
Yes. Hi, this is Lisa Griff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, now we're going to move on to the public comment phase. Anyone can send in written comments to the BAC email, bac@houstontx.gov by 2 p.m. the day of the BAC meeting. Comments will be read aloud by staff during the meeting. Also, they can comment via the phone by dialing 936-755-1521 using ID 757-702-416 #. Please press *6 to mute and unmute when called upon the chair. You can comment via Microsoft Teams chat. Just put your name in the chat and what you'd like to comment. At this time, Chair, we didn't receive any written comments. Are there anyone in the chat, David? All right, none in the chat. We'll continue to move forward. Now we want to do a discussion on the potential fleet targets for bicycle-friendly driver trainings. Chair?
Sure. So it would be helpful if we could bring up that list. Is that possible? Let's see. But everyone on the committee should have received the email, correct? Right, Brandon? Okay.
Correct. Everyone should have received it.
Okay. So if you go into the email that Brandon sent, looks like on Monday, we have a link to a list of potential bicycle-friendly driver program recipients. And this is kind of going out beyond that of the City of Houston fleet. And before we jump into this list, I know Commander Christine Anthony isn't here today, but there was discussion about how we can incorporate into the city's some, like regular safety updates or something. Do we have any updates on that?
I know the commander was reaching out to that committee. I don't have an update from her.
Okay, so we'll follow up with that at the next meeting. So if everyone has the list up, we've got it looks like a list of about a little over maybe 25 different folks, including Amazon, AT&T, BP, CenterPoint, Chevron, etc. And is it within it was the idea to expand this bicycle-friendly driver program to these companies, to expand the reach of the program. I'm wondering, what the best strategy is for determining which ones we should go for first, and then obviously how we make this training available to them. So is it something that can be offered? I am finding more and more that, you can give someone a video to watch, but the activity of dialogue is just so meaningful and so important. And if we could help, figure out a way to go there, talk to them in some capacity, it could be a part of a larger effort. I know, some management districts, et cetera, are thinking about transportation demand management, things now. So wondering, and I know we don't have much capacity because we're, all trying to come together to develop a contact list for these people that we've identified. But I'm curious what others think about how we would interface with these groups, how we would deploy this training to them. Best case scenario. Go ahead, Robin.
I'll put my hand down now so I don't forget later. One thought, I would not try to dictate how we deploy the training, that's down in the weeds, and each of these organizations is going to have their own internal processes for how do they deliver training to their people. I think the more pressing question is, who is the right person to make the ask and who are we asking? That I could call a random customer service number at Reliant Energy and get one set of reactions that would be very different if we engage with somebody from Reliant who serves on one of the mayor's boards and commissions, or somebody who serves on the executive committee of the Greater Houston Partnership, or so on. That we're identifying organizations, many of which have official representation in other organizations. And I think that's the avenue we will have the most success the most quickly in terms of touching these groups. So as the question of who should we ask and who should make the ask is as important as which organizations are we trying to touch.
That's a really great point, Robin. Just looking at this list, and if anyone has an idea of, which ones, I mean, I'm sure all of these folks have some kind of ongoing relationship with the city, but, which ones would be work best for us. I know that, at least BP, Shell, well, at least BP and Shell, I know, and Chevron at least have large corporate campuses in the city of Houston, and I know are always at the table during some type of disaster event. So I'm sure we have those contacts. But do you know who would make the ask?
So I think 3 months ago when we started talking about this, the idea was if the BAC can provide a kind of consolidated list of these are the types of organizations, if you have specific ones that staff would go through and identify where we can reach out, where there are existing relationships. It may take a little time and work, but the follow-up question was, they're going to ask us, what are we asking of them? Are we asking, here's a video that can you show people? Are you coming to a meeting? Are you helping us strategize about it? And, that exponentially becomes much bigger depending on what the ask is. And that's what we were hoping the committee would give us some direction about.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so back to kind of the question. So you guys can handle kind of figuring out who is the right person to make the ask, and from maybe a shorter list of these, determine how best to reach out to them.
Sorry. This list is a good starter list. What is it, about 20 or so?
Yeah.
I think this is as much as we'd be able to handle anytime soon to begin with. We may need to parse it to make sure we have context on all of them, but it is, again, when we reach out, we need to be very, very specific about what is being asked.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess going kind of back to the original question of, what is the mechanism of delivery? I know that now, at least for HPD, it is a video that they can watch on their own time through a city portal. How I received the training was, it was a small group interaction, and we took a pre and a post test. I am interested in this program not to check boxes of like who is like somehow watching, this and Game of Thrones at the same time. But but how can we measure what impacts we're having? So I would be interested in either inviting them to participate in a training that the city would be offering, or to send someone out. And obviously I think that would take a little bit, more coordination, because we'd be going, I don't know how many of these folks would be interested, but going to, I think the ask would be, can you give us 3 hours of your time? Can we use your facility? Can we, work with your staff who drives to give them this training?
Can I make a couple of suggestions?
Yep.
So one clarification, none of the training happens on a driver's individual time. It is the company paying for their time doing this instead of doing, the primary job. So when we go to them, we do want it to be a contained ask of, we are asking for X amount of time, for each of your drivers, because they will immediately multiply the hourly rates times what's not happening. whether they are coming to us or we're going to them, that means we actually have to develop the training as well. Might I make a suggestion that we do a pilot with one willing participant and see how it rolls out? We acknowledge that this isn't necessarily going to be the most formal training we've ever done. And if they could send a small cohort to work with us on it, and then we report back, and BAC members could obviously join us to take notes.
I think that's a fabulous idea. I love that. I wondering, and that would be, and maybe this is too in the weeds, but I'm just thinking from their perspective, if, like you mentioned, they're thinking, you know, time is money. I'm sending my drivers out here to do something that I think is going to be good for them, good for me, or good for society. How else can we, you know, what else can we give them to encourage them to take this training? And I feel like perhaps it might be, you know, more marketable if they came to the city and got some of those opportunities to take photos at the city participating in this training, but open to what others think. Mike, what's on your mind?
Just wondering, would it be a benefit to us to try to reach out to other cities who have gone through the same thing to see what maybe has worked for them or has not worked for them?
Staff can definitely reach out. We're on multiple, I don't think they're called message boards anymore. Email lists. I don't know what you kids call them these days. But we can send a blanket to many of our peers and see what we can learn. I think that's a great idea. Thank you. Yeah,
I know that, you know, in being in some of the meetings with other cities on transportation, some of them are surprisingly effective in their areas. I don't know about this particular type of outreach to companies, but, you know, the other thing is that, you know, we need to come up with a way of making these companies understand that it can be of benefit to them and how they look to communities. So I might try to get our head around, you know, how we pat them on the back, so to speak.
That's great feedback. I love the idea of, you know, getting really clear about what's in it for them. And I'm kind of seeing that as like almost like a one pager or, you know, some type of graphics or talking points that we can get really clear on, and use that to communicate with them. Great idea.
You know,
I know
put something up on the City of Houston website that shows the list of the companies that have engaged in these educational activities.
Mm-hmm. Robin? You're muted.
Of course I am. I want to piggyback on Mike's observation. These businesses that we're partnering with absolutely need to have something to show for it in exchange. And some of them could be motivated by bragging rights. Like the ask to be, will you be in a pilot with us to help us lead the charge and figure out how to do this and change the culture, you know, change the safety culture among a whole bunch of Houston companies. And that the bragging rights of going first could be a powerful thing. And that what we're asking them for is expertise. Like you Deloitte or you Silver Eagle, like somebody else who's serious about safety and quality of life and being a committed partner in their community will have ideas about both what's useful in terms of making it easy for their firm to deliver it to their people, but also what they need from a social media, from an annual report, like what do they need to take credit for it? And so asking for that guidance from the people who make those decisions could be a powerful way to get people on board. So I guess I would encourage us not to just try to find one, but to see if we can assemble a small kitchen cabinet, if you will, of 4 or 5 or 6 firms who would be energized to go first, and then help us scale it up.
And I can see someone else has their hand up, but I can't see who it is. Oh, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. A few thoughts. I do like the idea of doing a pilot with one company to kind of get some form to it before we roll it out to a larger group. As far as what other cities have done, I'm wondering if maybe a conversation with LAB, it might be helpful in that regard if they've worked with other cities in some kind of education. That's just a thought I had, if we maybe could contact someone there. And two more things. As far as what's in it for them, companies are increasingly getting on the ESG bandwagon, and this certainly checks a couple of those boxes. I think both environmental and certainly social responsibility. And so I think a number of the companies on this list, are really making an effort in that regard. So yeah, in addition to the bragging rights and being first and so forth, I think it might help them. And I don't know what specifically in some of those scorecards, those ESG scorecards, and that would be something, again, maybe we could discuss either in the initial pilot or in the small group rollout. So just a couple thoughts on that. One more thing, I'm looking at this list here, and I see a lot of great companies. I'm wondering, are we targeting in particular companies that have big fleets with a lot of drivers in Houston? Because obviously, something like a FedEx or UPS fits that really well, or Centerpoint. Some of these other ones, I'm not sure how big their corporate fleets are, particularly in the city. I mean, they may have, big crews out in the field or something, but maybe not so much in the city of Houston. So I'm throwing that out as a question regarding who we should be targeting from this list. Like maybe Chevron and Exxon come to mind as, yeah, they're great, and I'm sure they have a lot of ESG and a lot of employees, but maybe not necessarily so many fleet drivers in the city of Houston. So I'm just tossing that out as a question.
I think that's a great question, and it makes me, kind of think about, with whether we focus on, I agree with Robin that we at least want to have, maybe a few different people in the pilot to just kind of gather information from them. And then based on that, because lots of these companies do very different things, and they're going to have, different numbers of vehicles on the road, as Tom said, do we want to focus on, say, the FedExes and the UPSs of the world? And do we want to keep that pilot group to something to where they're all somewhat similar to each other? So FedEx, UPS, let's see, what else do we have on here?
Xfinity is an example.
Xfinity, even, Verizon as well, kind of these utilities,
Right.
The utility companies, rather than the corporate entities, I think is a strategy. We could kind of get a cohort of the utility companies. I think another strategy would be to kind of mix it up and have one corporate, one utility, and, one other, to see how they might, strategies might differ between them. What do you think, Robin?
I would encourage us to narrow this down to organizations that are headquartered here. That the logistics, for example, of trying to get an organization like FedEx that's global and deal with their training process, I'm assuming will require more negotiation than dealing with, say, Waste Management, which has a fleet and is headquartered in Houston. And some of these organizations are like Silver Eagle is going to be easier to deal with than maybe T-Mobile, right? All of these have fleets, but it might be useful to look at who's local, where we can leverage both they have a bunch of people here, and that their corporate accountability is going to include a piece of, are you a good corporate citizen in your home city? And they're more likely to be plugged in with the city and with the partnership and Houston First and so on.
So thank you very much. I'm really glad you brought up Silver Eagle. They've been a very good partner to the city on our Vision Zero work. And I wonder if the committee's okay if we reach out to them using that same contact to see if they would want to transition or expand their partnership on this effort as well. And we can see about them as our first pilot candidate.
Yes, please, and thank you.
Staff will take, if the committee is okay with it, Madam Chair and members, we would take that upon ourselves.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I just I guess I wonder how you'll pitch it, and maybe we'll just, if you need help with how to do that.
I'm going to go with, you're nice people. You want to keep doing nice things,
Okay, great. That sounds good.
but maybe I'm a little more formal than that.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'm wondering, and maybe this is a question for you, David, is the idea of expanding, this pilot to more than one group, does that seem doable? I mean, I think we could kind of go all in with one person, or we could do a little bit, say like just a preliminary conversation with maybe a few people to see how they kind of initially respond to it. What do you think?
Because we still don't have what the training looks like, if we can replicate from another city. I was actually wanting to start the conversation with, have you done this at all? Maybe they have an internal training already up and running from some of their other work, and really just started as a conversation. And, we can certainly come with some stuff, but they may be able to guide us as well.
Sounds good. Anyone just looking at this list, we picked out Silver Eagle. Are there any that stand out? Any others that are Houston based that people recognize?
Well, you mentioned Waste Management, or somebody did earlier.
And can someone tell me what Silver Eagle is?
They're a beer distributor.
Oh, okay. Wine gal.
Yeah.
Wiser.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay, so Waste Management, Silver Eagle. I'm just going to put it in the
Center Point.
Okay, so that's a utilities company, a services company, and another utilities company. I think maybe starting with those three would be a great start. Thoughts from the group?
Maybe also A Rocket, because they're local. They're Houston based for 60 years, and they have a whole lot of trucks. And they do a lot of work downtown too.
Is Cisco local? I know they have a big presence here. I'm not sure if we're their corporate headquarters or not.
I don't know.
No.
I believe yes.
Okay.
Cisco would be another great one.
Yeah.
There's two Ciscos, right?
The one I'm thinking of is the SYS. That's the food distribution.
Food service,
Yeah.
not networking.
Right. Right.
Okay. Do we?
That's fine. That's kind of a decent group.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great starting point. What do you need from us to be able to make that happen?
Wrong unmute. I want to make sure I'm clear what the ask was, because I thought what I heard was we should start with Silver Eagle, and then I heard we should start with 5 companies.
So whether or not to start with one versus many? Okay, so we have 3, 5 kind of selected here. I think it depends on how deep we want to get with these groups initially, like what our goal is in making contact initially. Like, I think Robin's point of collecting information from them is really key. And I'm wondering if it could be, I think we could develop like a few questions that we ask all of them. make a connection with all of them and then kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out what to do with that information if we want to focus on one or two from there. Or we could go directly to Silver Eagle and say, good people doing good things, continue to do good things. We're developing this program, and kind of take it from the beginning to perhaps a full, training. So is our goal to collect the information from people so that we can develop the training, or is it to, have a training by a certain date? I don't know. What do y'all think?
I recommend starting with Silver Eagle as a conversation to figure out what works well for them and what doesn't. They're going to have opinions about, would they rather have instructor-led training that they make people do, or would they rather have, an online video and so on? And they'll have opinions about, what kind of timing is useful and what kind of recognition is useful. But I think once we have that conversation with Silver Eagle and we vet these others, it's like someone in the mayor's office of special events would probably have good insight about which of these organizations are going to be easier to connect with and might be more motivated to partner with us on this. That sets up the next round of conversations.
I agree, Robin.
I hate to make them serially like we're going to do one and not talk to the others. I hope we can keep gathering information on the others too, and maybe build up to a more refined ask for the second round of asks.
Yeah, I agree for the reasons you stated, Robin, and also just leveraging David's existing relationship with Silver Eagle and building on that.
Okay, so I hear the action item for staff is first be clear what the script is when we go to Silver Eagle, a little more formal than what I just gave you. Then go actually to Silver Eagle and have that conversation, asking questions about what do they do today regarding all driver training, but specifically regarding bicycle interaction on roads with people bicycling. How they would interest in training classes for their drivers, and then kind of what that looks like. Do they have existing training? Is there a way to incorporate it? Would this be the first one ever? What does that mean in terms of time, in person or video, and start to learn from them as opposed to reinventing the wheel with them?
David, you said something that struck me as well. This idea of having some questions. It could be, I think information gathering from Silver Eagle, particularly because they participated in Vision Zero, will be powerful. But I also like the idea of maybe we come up with a set of 3 to 5 questions. So like not a lot of work, but that we would want to gather from each of these organizations about like what are you doing regarding driver safety at all? Right? Like Silver Eagle assuredly has driver safety. All of these fleet operators have driver safety stuff. And to try to understand what are they doing today for driver safety? How do they do it? How often do they do it? Who pays for it and so on, like to try to get a handle on that from a number of organizations, and whether, do they only do it for their truck drivers or do they do it for everyone in the building? Because some of the energy companies in particular who have, safety bonuses offer a lot more safety training to all of their people, not just their truck operators. So I think that could be a useful thing to do, to gather and to start with a couple, but then we could build on it for a number of organizations. And it may be there are patterns that emerge from the answers to these questions that will point us to, oh, the efficient way for us to make this available to a lot of people is to do X, Y, and Z. But we can gather information first.
Staff is happy to put together kind of a basic interview survey.
Yeah, thank you.
With, no more than 5-6 questions, so we get a good response rate.
Yeah.
But as opposed to sending it to all 20 on this list, though, we'll start with Silver Eagle because they may actually help us formalize the questions in the right words.
Yeah.
And then maybe expand that to the next tier.
Yeah, or maybe like do it for the next, like do the first several as a live conversation, which will point to a better, more refined set of questions.
Okay, we can take that on.
Thank you.
I feel so productive right now. I added another company to the list, CMEX. They're a concrete company. They drive the large, big concrete trucks, and they actually, while I was at Bike Houston, were also a really great partner. They're also really interested in thinking more about how they can be safer on the roads with people walking and biking. They've even brought out a couple of their CMEX trucks to different biking events to let people sit in them and just kind of understand where, you know, the cement driver can see you, where they can't. So that's another option. I know they've been interested in stuff like that.
Also, Cemex's US headquarters is in Houston.
Hey,
I see Susan Jaworski has joined us from HGAC, and I'm wondering, Susan, do you know, has HGAC, through any of your work, have you worked with any fleet companies that we could tack on to or learn from?
One of the things we do have through our commute solutions that we've worked with, and I was just sent an email to them while you guys were having this conversation and see if we can get at least a list of potential sources that you can coordinate with.
That'd be great. If you can send that to city staff, we would appreciate it. We'll work from that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
collaboration, is there, what's in the air? Maybe it's the holiday spirit. Okay, great. I feel like we have a path forward on this list. If anyone has anything else they want to mention or throw out or suggest to the group.
I see no other hands or chat.
Can we
I'm
talk
just
for
wondering
no.
about a timeline as far
Same.
as when do we want to hear back at, like, in time for the next subcommittee meeting, sooner, later? What's our target for having a turnaround on it?
We'll hope to report back at the next subcommittee meeting for education.
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Is it, I realize it's the holidays. Is it possible we could have the set of conversations with Silver Eagle before the January meeting? Like the meeting of the whole in January?
We'll do our best.
I mean, it may
and-
not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And remind me, when is the next subcommittee meeting? Yeah.
It's every 3 months, so it'll be March.
March. Okay. Okay.
I guess what I would
go
all
ahead,
right.
Robin.
Just I guess a request of, let's plan to have an item, even if it's just a brief update, because the meeting of the whole is captured and recorded and participated in by more people and maybe viewed by more people. If we could have an update that includes a specific ask of, and hey, if you're, you know, a local employer of fleets, or if you work for one of these organizations and you have thoughts about how to plug us in, to just invite someone to help us get plugged in. Broaden the net.
Sounds good. Will do.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Just thinking ahead, March is a couple months ahead of Bike Month. It would be cool to have something to, you know, report out at Bike Month of, you know, we've started this pilot program with X company and how exciting, we're trying to make the world a better place. Just kind of putting that on our radar. Not yet.
These hold for technical operations.
And I'm wondering if, and I'm not sure if anyone from TxDOT is on the call, but, and I know we had the discussion about the stickers and how, City of Houston fleet drivers, there's restrictions on what they can have on their vehicles, but I wonder if that applies to the folks that we're reaching out to. So, I mean, if there's a way that we can think about offering some kind of sticker like we originally had to go on the bumper of, waste management vehicles would be something cool to see.
This is Matt with TxDOT. I may be able to answer your question, depending what it is.
I think the question would be, could we utilize TxDOT to get some bicycle-friendly driver stickers printed to use to give out to our partners?
So let me research this, because stickers is different from paper materials, which we have more of a abundance of. So I'll check if you guys have like a target unit I can use as an example, like 20,000 or 10,000 or 500, and maybe even a general design. I can put that through to see what we can do, if that's going to be a quick yes or a long yes, but I can see what that's going to be on our end to give you guys an answer through email.
Great. So the sticker has already been developed. There's a design for it. It was out of Bike Houston, and I'm not sure if Joe or anyone else is on the call, but we can definitely get you a design for the sticker that will be replicated, and they might even have some resources on how much they cost to print as well.
Cool. Please send it to me. For what we do for our budget, we do it in-house, or we may contract it out to a partner through our print shop. But all those details, please send them to me, and I'll push it up to Austin to see what we can do.
Fabulous. Thank you.
All right, this time we have already started, but we're at our open forum. So if there are any committee members who have any topics they'd like to talk about that wasn't on the agenda related to bicycling.
I'll just
Was that waving your hand?
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to remind everybody, and I know we don't have the full BAC, but I'd like Brandon to follow up with an email to the group, strongly encouraging everyone to show up in person at the full BAC meeting in January. Hopefully the weather will be decent and we can get a nice group photo. I think that'll be our last meeting, if I'm right, David, of the current BAC before new members take their positions at the next meeting, which would be in April.
Correct, Tom.
So maybe if we can just again stress that in a follow-up email to the entire committee, and it'd really be nice to get an updated picture.
Sounds great. We'll do.
Thank you.
Something that I just wanted to kind of touch on, because I know recently, I'm not quite sure how to frame it, but TxDOT and the city have agreed to move forward with some version of I-45 reconstruction, with the stipulation that there are some, there's some funding for bike and ped connections through the project, and I'm wondering if that is limited to infrastructure or if it is bigger and broader than that.
Such as
an education program.
that would be up to TxDOT to come see what they're allowed to do. But I want to make sure people understand the city and TxDOT have signed the MOU. And we are going to work from that moving forward. But TxDOT is still under the federal pause for now, that, as soon as that is decided, but we may be able to ask TxDOT to come speak about what's in there regarding bicycle comments once everything's ready to go.
That would be really helpful. It would be great to understand what the parameters of that offering is. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Jessica. David, would that be something you could provide, and maybe an overview at the next BAC meeting of what the as specifically as you can get, okay, how does the MOU address bike facilities? Are there any specifics in it, or what could we take from that? That, for example, maybe it'd be something down the Little White Oak Bayou or something. I know as far as the connectivity, if there's any specifics, or if it's just a broad brush, but some kind of description. Okay, what are the impacts for the bikeway network coming from this MOU?
If you're okay, I'll reach out to TxDOT and see how they would like to communicate this.
That sounds really helpful. Anybody else have any final thoughts, comments, questions, praise?
Matt DeLeon has his hand up.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, just want to say, I think, well, I'm not sure it was the last education meeting, but right now our grants are open, proposals are open to fund educational grants in the Houston district and the state. That closes, I believe, January 4th. And so just to give you a good understanding what our programs are, we have an actual highway traffic safety plan list showing everything we fund as well as their objectives. So that really does help if you wanted to create an education program. You could see what San Antonio's doing or something, and kind of use those objectives as inspiration to make a quick program to do education. And the education, if the grant were to be approved, would be hitting October 1st of 2023. So I want to make sure everyone's aware. I can put the links in the chat, I believe. Jessica also has some of the links as well. There's also a video that goes over the entire process and Q&As. I wanted to put this to this committee here so they're knowing about it. And I'm pushing people as much as I can to get more grants here in Houston. And secondly, as you may or may not have already seen, around this time period, we push also our Sober Ride campaign, and we give out Lyft or Uber vouchers. This year we're working with Lyft. So we're encouraging people to take a Lyft instead of driving when they want to have a good holiday party, because we know more drunk drivers on the road create more fatalities and crashes, and we definitely don't want to see any cyclists getting hit by an impaired driver. So I could put that link there, but just wanted to share that we have that campaign active, and we're giving Houstonians and everybody in the 6-county area $20 to take a Lyft to enjoy the night and not worry about driving.
Hey, Matt, this is Brandon Mosley, staff. Do you mind emailing me that information? I'll put it in the follow-up email.
And we'll email it to you now.
That's amazing. So I just get $20 on a Lyft?
Yes, we set it up to where the parameters are between 5 p.m. and 5 a.m., which is the optimum time people will go out and, of course, consume alcohol or go out to venues. And so for us in Houston, we got this money from a grant from the Governor's Highway Safety Association to basically, entice people, encourage people to take a Lyft and going out instead of driving. And so we've done this for about 4 years now, and we're looking to see if we can make this a long-term program that year-round as of next year and years to come. So it's something that we can track. It's a good metric. We can track how many people redeem and how many people use the rides versus a campaign, which is hard to track performance on.
And that's available through the link that you'll send, Brandon?
Absolutely. Right now, if you want to check TxDOT's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we have it on all mediums. We have a webpage for it as well, which I'll send Brandon. But yes, it's active as of December 15th. And we know right now the cold time, not a lot of people probably be going out this weekend, and it's also Christmas, but we're really going to be pushing this for the following weekend for New Year's Eve. So right now we have maybe 10% of the codes already redeemed. So we're just going to do more promotion as much as we can. We want to make sure Houston's taking advantage of this.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
And we can push this out through city social media as well.
Get it.
All right, thank you guys. Move on. Coming out now with the announcements. Our next meeting will be the whole BAC Advisory, Bicycle Advisory Committee meeting will be January 25th at 2:30 here at the City Council Annex Chambers. The Infrastructure Subcommittee meeting will be February 22nd at 2:30, John B. Ray at 611 Walker. Follow up again by with our Education Subcommittee on March 22nd at 2:30 in John B. Ray. We appreciate you guys for all your work you've done this year. We have came a long way, but we have a little more to go. Happy New Year and happy holidays, everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone. Happy holidays.
Maybe
Bye,
it's
Happy
February,
holidays.
everybody.
Thanks for all you do, guys, and stay safe out there.